let me do my final story, because everybody likes a good story, and then we'll finish up. So I just wanted to finish up similar to the way that I started, telling a little bit of a story, and I wanted to tell you about attending this Billionaire in Training Bootcamp. So you remember I was saying this was the workshop that I ended up attending while the whole MCG debacle was going on, and I was up there, and I think there's something to be said for attending workshops where it's complete submersion. Like when you go into a workshop where it's for like 5 days, and you start at at dawn, I think we started at like 6 a.m. and then we went through to like 11 o'clock at night, and we did it every day. I think we started off by doing Tai Chi out on this golf course, because we were staying in some 5-star hotel. I should know the name of it, because it was actually on the Gold Coast and you guys would know it. But so we stayed on there, and then we played volleyball in the afternoon. And I'll tell you about the volleyball story, because there are a lot of interesting lessons that came out of that. But it's funny, getting submerged into this, I have a new understanding of the way cults work. Like you could imagine, I think the way cults work, you go into an enclosed area, and as time progresses, you slowly do more and more outrageous things as time passes. Like on the first day, you're kind of getting comfortable with it, and then on the second day, they started to make suggestions to you that you should start each day thinking about declaring what it was that, like, who you are. I am David Jenyns, I am an entrepreneur, I'm going to achieve this, and start off thinking that in your mind. And then day 3 they suggested that you stand on the edge of your balcony and scream it out at the top of your voice out the edge of your balcony, which I think ended up annoying all of the other people who were attending the resort as well. Like, it was quite funny in the morning at 6 a.m. you had 200 people all attending this workshop out on their balcony screaming out, I'm an entrepreneur, and it was just real craziness. But the further you got into this rabbit hole and you started sort of going down into it, you started to almost break yourself out of your comfort zone and start to do things that you weren't normally going to do. And it's funny, I think you all very much underestimate what it is that you can achieve. And I mean, we were starting at early day and then pushing ourselves really hard all the way through and finishing at 11 at night. And we did that for 5 days straight. And I really think you're underestimating what it is that you can achieve in your business over a very short time frame. I think that was one of the big key takeaway messages that Brad Sugars was trying to put into that message is, if you can just do what we did in 5 days, imagine doing that over the next 12 months and funneling all of that energy into your business, as long as you've got that real clear focus. So one of the things that he did as well, he talked about this idea that the way that you respond in games is a great indicator as to the way that you respond in life when certain things happen. So he set up the whole weekend. It was, like I said, it was orchestrated. It was like Master of the Puppets. And one of the things that we did was he set up early on, we were going to play a volleyball game. So he broke us up into teams, and this is how we broke up the day. The workshop was all about wealth creation, but I said we started off doing Tai Chi, and then we yelled off the edge of our balconies, and then we went and sat in these seminars that lasted from 9 a.m. You think today was a full-on day. We were going until 11 o'clock at night, and he wanted to demonstrate that what happens in life gets replicated in these games. So when he divided us up into groups, one of the first things that happened was they said, okay, well, I want you to come up with who is going to be the leader of the volleyball team, or the captain for the volleyball team. So for me, we were there, and this was very early on. It was only day 1 or day 2 when they assigned us to these groups, and they asked around who's going to be the captain, and everybody said Dave's going to be the captain, Dave's going to be the captain, Dave's going to be the captain. And it was funny, at that time I didn't feel like I was ready to step up. And I was only sort of 20 at the time, 20, 21, because it was around that MCG time, and I didn't realise that, was I ready to be a leader? Was I ready to step up? I don't think you ever really know that you're ready. I don't think you're going to get that feeling where you go, oh, now is the time for me to really step up. I kind of got forced into it, and I didn't think I was ready, but we started having these training sessions, and like I didn't know how to train volleyball. I don't know anything about volleyball, and after the first training session, I was walking back to my room, and I just happened to overhear there was another guy, because they broke us all into groups, and everybody nominated their own coach, and this particular volleyball group was still training, and I'd walked by and I overheard that this guy was a volleyball coach, and he'd coached he had coached like the Australian Olympic volleyball team, and he happened to be at this workshop. So I sort of hung around. I sort of caught that in the back of my mind, and I thought, I'll just wait here till he finishes up. So he finished off talking to his group, and they all went, and I said, can I borrow you for a second? I pulled him aside and asked him for some pointers. And he gave me a few tips. One of the tips was, he said, you want to create rituals for yourself. He said all peak performing athletes have these rituals that they perform. Like, for example, when you look at a tennis player, sometimes what a lot of tennis players will do is at the end of each point, what you'll see them do is they turn their back from the net. They swap the hand that they're holding the racket in, and then they'll walk away. And what does that do? In their mind, they've set up this ritual. It gets them to disconnect from that point. They've swapped the racket, gives their hand a chance to recuperate, and then when they get to the end, turn around, swap back, ready to go for the next point. Same with a volleyball player. He was saying just before he does a serve, they'll come out, they'll throw the ball up, and you'll see them, they'll slap the ball. I don't know if you've seen the volleyball players do that. And they go, man, and they smack it really hard, and it gets them in state. It's like a ritual that they've done over and over and over and over. So that way it almost like puts them back into the moment when they're peak performance, and they've trained their mind to know that when I do that, this is a ritual and a rhythm and a routine that I've done a million times before. So an interesting lesson, you might start to think about, well, how can you start to create rituals in your life and the way that you do business to make sure that you do things on a repeatable basis, to make sure that you're optimised and operating at a peak performance. The other thing that he did, he said, because he gave me 3 pointers, he said also you want to assign team members to different roles. So he had, one person was the person who stands right up next to the net underneath, and their job, he told them what their job was, to make sure that they tapped the ball over at just the right time. And because they were up front, they only did it gently, whereas the person up the back, their role wasn't to hit it over the net. Their role was to make sure that they hit the ball forward and get it closer to the net, so that you get it closer to the person who's either going to just tap it over or spike it over. So making sure that you assign the roles to the right people. And then the final one, which was really important as well, was to make sure that communication is absolutely key. You want to make sure that you communicate really, really well with your team. Because when they were going for shots, you'd call it out. You'd say, yep, this one's mine, just so the rest of the team knew what's going on. And a few of these lessons, it's funny the way that now that I start to think about it, how important they are in life. That idea of the game echoes what happens in life. And communication, I'm finding, especially with my Filipino team, how important it is to make sure that you communicate really well, especially when you're working in a team environment. So we ended up training, like I said, every day as we sort of led up into the final playoff day. And I remember the playoff day quite vividly, because Brad Sugar started off by bringing out $10,000 in $20 wads. So he just had $1,000 in little $20 wads, and he had 10 of them. So he just had a whole bunch of cash, right? And then he put it out next to the volleyball thing, and he said, you're playing for $10,000 now. So, there was a little bit of competition there. We were playing for money, and this was real money. Granted, he probably charges us still $4 or $5 grand a ticket. So, $10 wasn't really that much considering how much money you would have made from the whole workshop. But the playoff began, and I mean, we did really well. It was great to get that coaching. Like, it's important that you get a coach and a mentor who can show you what it is that you need to do to grow. And like, I mean, I moved through the finals and we did really good as a team. We got near the end and then we ended up just getting beat out by the better team. And the guy who was the Olympic volleyball coach, his was the team that actually ended up winning. We didn't play against him. But you should have seen he had this amazing, massive serve that he would do, and it would just crush absolutely everyone. It was like his move, and I think it was because no one else had played volleyball, and he had. So he just had this serve that was it was like an unfair advantage. He'd just sit there and go, bang, and hit it up, and it would go like 50 metres up in the air, and then it would just come down on the other side, like right in the back left-hand corner, like he'd done it a million times before, and no one could end up returning it. He ended up winning, but I remember taking away a few sort of key lessons from that. And I remembered, firstly, I mean, it was really good. We played as a team, and it pulled us all together, and the importance of needing a coach, and everything that you've learnt up until now that we've gone through. You're not, even if you execute it really, really well, you're not necessarily going to get it right the first time. It takes time and effort, and like I said, building a business is hard work, and making sure that everything's all lined up, and you might try a few times and you might not succeed, but that's just part and parcel of it all. So you need to be prepared for that, and just know that once you get everything set up, you get clear on what your vision is, and I didn't get into any of the woo-woo stuff at the start of the day, but get clear on what it is that you're going after, then make sure that your business map is going to help you achieve those goals. There's no point in you building up a business that's centred around you if you don't want to, maybe you want to live a life where you can go away on holidays for 6 months of the year or something like that. But if you build a business that's all built around you, you're not going to do that. So know up front what it is that you're trying to build, and then you'll get there much quicker.